I'm Kitty.
And I'm Jennifer.
And we're the O'Neill sisters. And we're going to show you how to make this easy resin ring.
We love resin jewelry. It is all the rage. And it's super fun to make projects like this. You get to build a little collage, add glitter and sequins as little embedments, and then pour this glossy resin finish over the top. It looks amazing. And it's super easy.
We're going to show you everything you need to know, including what materials to buy, how to pick out your ring blank, and what kind of resin to use.
We're going to show you a fun little trick with laminating that's super easy.
We'll show you how to put the resin on and how to release any bubbles, and also how to cure it.
And if you have any comments or you have any questions as you're working, go ahead and post them and we'll respond as soon as we can.
So let's get started. Here are the tools and materials you need to make the easy resin ring.
The first thing you need is a ring blank with sides, and the sides are very important. We got this at a craft store. Then you need clip art. You can use any kind of clip art. You could use postage stamps in bright colors like these. You could use German die cuts, and these are fun because all you have to do is clip them apart to get these interesting shapes. You could use sheets of map like this.
And we find maps tucked inside National Geographic magazines, old ones, at the thrift store.
You could also use sheet music, which is a nice background. Or you could buy entire sheets of clip art online at places like Etsy. This particular piece of clip art is by Craft Fantastic, and we'll include a link to that in the attachments. You need scissors to cut out your clip art, and then you need some embedments for your ring. We're going to use some chunky glitter.
If it's too small, it won't show up, so it needs to be chunky.
And then we're going to use some sequins. These are just classic sequins like you would use in a kid's project.
And then you're also going to need tacky glue. That's just white glue. You'll need one toothpick and plain old packing tape, clear.
Then you need your resin, and we're going to use Lisa Pavelka's Magic Gloss for this project. We like this because it cures in the sun.
And if you live in a place where it's raining, or if it's just in the middle of the night, you have to make a resin ring, you can use a blacklight bulb to cure your resin ring because it lets out UV light.
Very clever. You could also use one of these products. You could use Glossy Accents or Mod Podge Dimensional Magic. Both of these cure in about 24 hours. They dry kind of like glue.
But clear.
But clear, which is good. And then you need a level. And finally, you need aluminum foil, and we'll show you what that's for. The first thing we want to do is select our clip art, and what we did was we've chosen a pretty piece of map and a postage stamp with a bird on it.
And we'll want to pick out a section of the map, and to do that you can take your ring blank and turn it upside down and just move it around till you find a square that you like.
I think I like this part right here.
And then you'll want to trace your ring blank with a pencil or pen or anything so that you'll know where to cut. And actually your cut lines are going to wind up being inside the lines that you're drawing right now because you're tracing on the outside of the blank. But you need this piece of map to fit inside the blank. So cut out your square of map, and we're actually going to cut it not just to fit inside the blank, but we're going to cut it a little bit smaller than that, just a fraction of an inch smaller, because we need to leave an edge all the way around the map. When we're looking at it in the ring blank, there'll be silver showing all the way around the map.
And so I'm cutting kind of a little bit inside. You can see that I've left a border there. And I'm going to just test this with my blank to see if it fits. I need to trim it just a little bit more.
But it needs to be a little bit smaller than the square inside the ring because the next step is laminating this piece of paper, and the laminate needs to touch all the way around. That's perfect. So to laminate it, we're going to use a piece of packing tape on the back of the piece of map.
So I'm going to set that down face up and put my piece of map on top and rub it down like that.
And then we have a second piece of clear packing tape that'll go on top.
And I stuck it down just like that. Now I'm going to burnish it real quick here with my fingernail. And that's just to make sure that all the color shines through nice, that there aren't any air pockets.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and do that around the edge as well.
And this part's important. You really need those edges to touch each other. The top piece of tape needs to touch the bottom piece of tape all the way around the image. That's going to keep the resin from seeping in.
You could also use your handles of your scissors for that too.
And now we're just going to cut it, leaving a little bit of that tape showing all the way around. And again, it's because you need that seal, and that seal is going to keep the resin from seeping into your image. If it did seep into your image, it makes your picture look wet.
And if you're using newspaper, newsprint, anything like that, it could make the image on the other side of the paper show through.
It's not pretty.
No.
So we want to protect our image, so we want to make sure that that tape goes all the way around.
So now we're going to test that and make sure that fits. It's pretty good. Give it just one more little snip here. Perfect. That should be just fine.
It's almost something.
It's pretty. Look at that. All right.
So cute.
So now, make sure that fits. Perfect.
Good. And now we're going to do the same with the little bunting or whatever that bird is on our stamp.
Pretty bird. Get my tape out of there.
So we're going to cut the bird out. And it's nice to have these fine scissors for this.
It's helpful to have a small pair of scissors, little blades like this, for tiny work where you have little curves. You could use manicure scissors if you have those around the house. We like these little scissors by Doris.
They're pretty much made for scrapbooking, I think.
They are. I'm just going to go around his belly.
And you don't need to cut out all the little, like he's got legs on a perch and all that fine stuff. It's going to be hard to see that anyway in this resin ring. So it's better to just cut out his big shape.
We're going to cut his little tail.
He's got a notched tail.
Like that.
And then he's going to get laminated too. He gets a piece of tape for underneath. And a piece of tape on top.
And again, we're going to rub on the tape to make sure it's nice and flat up against the image. And I'm going to burnish around the edge to make sure it's sealed. And then I'm going to cut him out again.
These postage stamps, we bought a bag of them on eBay. And I think you can buy them on Etsy too. And people just collect postage stamps. And I guess these are ones that aren't that valuable, but they're valuable to us as crafters. And I think we got like 25, and in a theme. We picked out the bird theme and got an envelope of bird stamps.
We got some kitty cats.
And we got some butterflies, and some of them have postmarks, and they're from all over the world and colorful. And
they're little works of art.
They're really fun for a project like this. And inexpensive. It was just a couple of dollars to get a envelope full of these beautiful stamps. Now he has a bigger edge of clear all around him because it's not even going to show in that, once it's in the resin, you won't see all that clear around him, but it will keep him protected.
Now we're ready to glue our art into our ring blank, but before we do, we need to check the orientation of it.
So I'll try on the ring, and then we'll turn the art the way we want it. So this is important because if you have, like we do, a map of Rome, and you don't test it, you might end up with a sideways map of Rome.
That would drive me nuts.
It would drive me nuts too. So I'm looking at it this way. This is how we want it glued in. And now that we know, we're ready to do our gluing.
So we're going to take our tacky glue and we're going to put just a tiny drop of tacky glue in the center of our ring blank. And that's really just to hold the image in place.
And it's just going to hold it until we put the resin on. And then once we put the resin's going to hold the whole thing together. So the glue's not doing that much work. You don't need that much glue.
So we've got our background in, and now we're going to put a tiny bit of glue on the back of our beautiful bird. And again, you don't need much to get it to come out here.
Get it to come out without coming out too much.
Yeah, which is always tricky. And then we're going to put him right on top.
And you can kind of slide him around the glue and laminated surface, make for a nice slidey little surface. You can see where you want him to be.
And now he's all glued in there.
And now we're ready to do our resin.
The Before we pour our resin, we're going to make a stand for our ring using a piece of aluminum foil. We're going to just crumple it up loosely like this. Take the ring and sort of nestle the band of it down in there like that.
And if it was a pendant, you wouldn't need to do this because the pendant's flat on the back, but you need this to be level, and the ring has that big loop on the back. So we're going to use a level and make sure that the stand is holding the ring blank in a level position, and both front to back and side to side.
This is important because you're pouring liquid resin on top of this ring. Oh, right. And so it needs to be level, or you're going to have a sort of warped finish on the top. Let's see if I can get that to get level. Now it's too far.
This is the hardest part. There.
That's
I
pretty
think
good.
that was pretty close.
And make sure that's pretty good.
Good.
Okay.
And now we're going to leave the stand like that because it's level.
So we're going to use this as our little work surface, and we're ready to put some embedments in our ring.
And we have some little pieces of glitter, not too little. If they're very tiny, then they don't show up. So this is a chunkier, these are actually round pieces of glitter, but they're just a little weightier. And we'll pick out one sequin to put in there. If we had a bigger area, we could put some more sequins in, but we don't have a lot of space in there, and we don't want the sequin to cover up the bird.
I think I'm going to pick out this silver one.
That's pretty.
And I'll put it up in this corner, and I'm going to use my toothpick to move it, although actually it looks a little light blue.
It's pretty.
The glitter and the sequin might move around a little bit once we pour a resin. If they do, we're going to show you a trick.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
And now we're ready to pour the resin. You want to make sure you're not in front of a window because it is going to cure as soon as it is exposed to UV light, which is direct sunlight. And we're in a safe place. We can do this. You'll have some time to work with it.
So we're going to start in the center of our ring blank here, and we're going to start squeezing it on like that. And you don't want to overfill, so just sort of put some in and let it fall a little bit to the sides.
You can kind of mush it around with the tip of the Lisa Pavelka or with the toothpick to get it to go to the edges. And don't overfill, because if you overfill, it's going to seep down the sides. It's better to underfill. You can do a whole layer and cure it in the sun, and if it's not full enough, you can wipe the surface with a little bit of alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and then do another layer right on top of it, and it'll stick right to it, and you can cure it just like you did before. So it's better to do that than overfill. That looks like perfect.
Yeah, this looks pretty good. We've got a couple bubbles in there.
You might want to move that one glitter with the toothpick.
I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to take, while this is still pretty wet, I'm going to move this glitter around a little bit off of my image. Just like that. Any others to move there?
No, it's nearly perfect. All we need to do is get rid of any bubbles now. And for that, we have a folded piece of paper, and we're just going to scoop the bubble out. You can use the toothpick to grab it, but that looks pretty good.
That looks pretty good.
We didn't wind up with too many bubbles. And now our last step is to take the ring in the aluminum foil holder and take it outside into direct sunlight.
And we're going to make sure we put it on a level surface while it cures.
And it'll probably cure in 15 to 30 minutes, but it's going to depend on how direct your sunlight is. If you've got sun coming straight down overhead, you're in business in 30 minutes. But if it's coming in from the side, if you're living way up north, you'll want to wait a little bit longer.
What you want to do is test the surface with a toothpick. Just touch around the edge to make sure that it's set up. You don't want to touch it with your fingertip because your fingerprint will end up on top if it's not cured.
So pretty soon we're going to have an easy resin ring.
Our ring has finished curing and it looks amazing.
The resin makes it look like it was made by a pro.
We hope you have fun making your own easy resin ring.